Hi guys, my name's Barry and welcome back to the channel. I've not really done a video on how obsessed Dr. Loomis was with Michael Myers. We all talk about Laurie Strode, we all talk about Michael Myers, and of course we do talk about Dr. Loomis, but we don't really get too in depth about Dr. Loomis's obsession with Michael Myers, and that's what I want to talk about today. Now, there is a lot to unpack with this, so I had to write a script out, and I will be reading it word for word that I've wrote out, guys, so you won't see my pretty face throughout this entire video, but it's just something that I've been thinking about throughout my time with the Halloween franchise, with Dr. Loomis's obsession with Michael Myers, because it has changed throughout the time periods and the timelines, but we're going to stick with the hopefully most of the original timeline of Donald Pleasence's Dr. Loomis. In the world of horror cinema, few relationships are as fraught and fascinating as that between Dr. Loomis and his infamous patient, Michael Myers. Loomis is not just a psychiatrist tasked with the care of a disturbed young boy, he's a man singularly consumed by one belief: that Michael Myers is pure, unadulterated evil. From the moment Loomis steps onto the screen in John Carpenter's Halloween, he serves as both a voice of reason and a harbinger of doom. A man who knows the terror that lurks beneath Michael's mask, but who struggles to convince a complacent world of the danger. Loomis's role in the Halloween franchise is unique. Unlike most slasher films, where the authority figures are often ineffective or oblivious, Loomis is an active participant in the narrative. He's not merely just hunting Michael, he's trying to stop an unstoppable force. His pursuit of Myers becomes not only a battle for survival, but a philosophical struggle. Loomis believes that Michael represents something beyond human understanding, something darker and more primal than mere mental illness or trauma. His famous line, "I spent 8 years trying to reach him, and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up because I realized what was living behind the boy's eyes was purely and simply evil," encapsulates his view that Michael is more than a man, he's a force of nature. This conviction leads Loomis down a path of obsession. He's portrayed as the only one who truly understands Michael's capacity for violence, and this understanding isolates him from others. In every sequel, particularly the first few, Loomis is increasingly frantic and desperate. He goes from a calm, methodical doctor to a man on the edge of sanity, his own identity warped by his pursuit of Myers. His obsession blinds him to everything else: his career, his relationships, and even his own safety. He becomes almost as relentless in his pursuit of Michael as Michael is in his killing spree. What makes Loomis's relationship with Michael so compelling is that, unlike most heroes and villains, there is no clear personal vendetta between them. Michael rarely acknowledges Loomis's presence, never speaking or responding directly to him. Loomis, on the other hand, is deeply invested in stopping Michael as if it's his moral duty. Michael is a silent force of chaos, while Loomis is the one person who takes responsibility for keeping that chaos at bay, even when no one believes him. This one-sided dynamic adds a layer of tragedy to Loomis's character. It becomes more than just a pursuer. He's a man haunted by his failure to contain evil, and as each Halloween night passes, that failure weighs heavier on him. Loomis's obsession reaches its peak in Halloween 4 and Halloween 5, where we see him go to the extreme lengths to stop Michael. His once clear-headed analysis of Michael as a patient deteriorates in a desperate, almost unhinged desire to see Michael destroyed at any cost. In Halloween 5, he even uses Michael's niece, Jamie, as bait to lure him into a trap. By this point, Loomis's ethical boundaries are blurred, showing that his obsession has consumed him entirely. His fixation is no longer about protecting people, it has become personal. Loomis is a man who feels responsible for every life Michael takes, and in his mind, stopping Michael is the only way to redeem himself. Despite his descent into obsession, Loomis is a tragic hero. He's the only character who consistently fights for what is right, even when everyone else dismisses his warnings. He faces ridicule, disbelief, and the horrific consequences of Michael's killings, but he never gives up. He is the closest thing to the Halloween franchise that has a moral compass, and it's his willingness to confront evil head-on that gives him his tragic nobility. However, this same commitment is also his undoing. Loomis's story is much more about his psychological deterioration as it is about Michael's rampage. The longer he chases Michael, the more he becomes consumed by his own obsession. It's ironic that in trying to stop a force that he deems inhuman, Loomis himself loses his humanity piece by piece. In his final moments on screen in Halloween: The Curse of Michael Myers, Loomis is left alone in a dark hospital, his fate ambiguous, but his life clearly forever shaped by his relentless battle with Michael Myers. Ultimately, Dr. Loomis represents something more than just a doctor trying to contain a killer. He symbolizes the idea that in the face of true evil, even the most rational minds can be driven to extremes. His relationship with Michael is a cautionary tale about obsession, isolation, and the psychological toll of confronting evil that defies logic. Loomis was never just fighting Michael, he was fighting the very nature of evil itself, an evil that could never be understood and certainly never defeated. And yet, like the tragic heroes of classical myths, Dr. Loomis never stopped trying. Even when the world ignored him, even when his own mind began to betray him, he stood as the only barrier between Michael Myers and the unsuspecting world. And for that, Dr. Loomis remains one of the most enduring and complex characters in horror history.
It's time, Michael.
So what are your thoughts on that, guys? What are your thoughts on Dr. Loomis and his obsession with Michael Myers? As always, leave your comments down below and I'll talk to you soon.
Meeting adjourned.
I'll be right back.
What are you waiting for, huh?
Coming to get you, Barbara.
Ever played Skin the Cat?
Someone's in the back!